I think a lot about shapes and flow of the body, which when you break down the anatomy of someone's body, I think you can visualize the different shapes and where something might move. And it is chaotic in a way, but I always have a very clear end goal in mind.
Hi Edwin, and great to meet you here in Paris. It's our first time meeting and we are so excited to hear your story. You grew up in a small village. How did that shape you as an artist?
Yeah, I think growing up in a small village was interesting in many ways, and I think it shaped me in a way that, it's a very beautiful and quiet place up there, and things are very safe and sound, but I felt like I always wanted to, explore the world, and I had big visions that maybe didn't fit into that kind of lifestyle. So I felt like I wanted to seek something else in the world, and by exploring the world, I feel like that grew my creative mind, and I could bring all the impressions from different parts of the world into how I shape my design and artwork also.
And how old were you when you going to another country?
Actually, it started with me and Martina moved to the south of Sweden at first, and then we moved to Denmark. I was only 3 years ago, actually.
Oh, okay.
But I started traveling a little bit before that, but I felt it for a long time. I just didn't take the step quite yet. It took me some time to dare to move out in the world, but since I did, it shaped me a lot and I grew a lot as a person.
How do you turn digital design into tattoo work?
Well, I studied digital media production before I got into tattooing. So that was a lot of graphic design and even interaction design like UX and UI. And how I bring it into tattoo work is not necessarily only visual. It's partly visual because I mix images that I have taken and reference images, like graphically designing. But it's also about how I see balance in a design. Even when it's abstract work, I might think how I would balance, for example, let's say a poster that I would graphically design digitally. I would consider where I want more weight, where I want focus. And I think that the mindset of a graphic designer, I think it's very much similar to that of an artist or a tattoo artist.
How do you bring abstract art onto skin? Where's the line between chaos and control?
I think that's a good question. Like, I think a lot about shapes and flow of the body, which when you break down the anatomy of someone's body, I think you can visualize the different shapes and where something might move. And it is chaotic in a way, but I always have a very clear end goal in mind. And I see something when I look at, if I'm gonna tattoo someone's arm or leg, for example, I take a look and I can see where I wanted to start and finish and where I wanted to move. And I think it just makes a lot of sense because a flat image might do well on a painting or on the wall, but I like the movement and chaos of abstract, and I think it just makes a lot of sense to put it on the body because it's moving all the time, and it just translates well to me.
And you prefer somebody without tattoos to starting?
Honestly, yes.
Yes,
I think it makes sense because I like to have a lot of space, but honestly, luckily, most of my collectors are actually without or with few tattoos.
Yeah.
And they tend to, at least where I'm gonna put my work, oftentimes that space is empty. So
and it's not possible anymore for me.
Or we fit it in the gaps.
You tattoo freehand. Is that freedom, pressure, or trust?
I think a little bit of everything, probably.
Yeah.
I do freehand mostly, especially when it's abstract. It's pretty much always freehand, but I think it's freedom for me because I simply just do what I think is what I would like to do, basically. Of course, based on what we discussed with my collector before, but it's also pressure because I can never know exactly what they're expecting me to do, right? I can have an idea and then I have an idea, but I'm the one executing it. So
Yeah.
there is a pressure, of course, to fulfill their needs and their vision, but it's also a freedom because I'm in control in a way. And I really like working that way.
How do you show emotion without using faces or symbols?
I think for me, and it seems like most of the people that want my work, they usually have some sort of emotion connected to this tattoo they're getting. And I think personally, when I look at abstract paintings, for example, it always gives me some sort of emotion. And I don't know if it's always what the painter wanted to portray, but I think I always get some sort of feeling. It might be positive or negative or aggressive or calm. And to me, I think like that. And I don't know if everyone does, but I try to bring in what my collector told me. For example, if it's a memory or if it's symbolizing a transition in life, I always try to bring that in the way I see it, with like maybe more contrast or more light or more dark, more chaos, more calm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's your solution.
yeah, yeah.
How has your idea of beauty changed over time?
I think it's gotten more in depth, I would say. So maybe my view of beauty before might have been more shallow. Probably I thought less of it back then. And now I'm thinking more in depth, and like what's beautiful is not only what's visually beautiful, it's also what you can relate to, what you know something more about, or the meaning of things. There's beauty in that too. And I think when I was younger, maybe I didn't see things on the same depth. And it goes for anything, for tattoos also particularly.
Yeah. How do you choose what stays in a design and what gets left out?
I think it depends on the particular case. For example, some people might want a lot of things put in a small surface, and then it just practically won't really work and it won't look good. And then I will usually explain that if we want all of these elements, we would need to go bigger, or we simply have to cut out elements. That, if I'm the one deciding, then I will go for what I think is most visually pleasing and will work best in practice. But if I don't have a choice, then I will have to, alter things and customize it, make it work in another way.
When's your first tattoo? You want everything in one tattoo, huh?
Yes, it's very common, yeah. Then I just have to explain it's not gonna work.
It was the same with my first tattoo.
I think we've all been there, yeah.
How can a tattoo grow with someone if it stays forever?
I think for me personally, I've gotten tattoos since I was 18, and many of them I wouldn't have gotten the same tattoo today, but I don't feel a regret either. I actually think of it as a part of me was that,
Yeah.
and it's always okay. I used to be maybe like that, and was my taste then and what went through my mind then. And even if I'm thinking differently now, it's always going to be a part of me. And if you can accept and respect that, I think each tattoo will always mean something to you, and the meaning might change over time, but I think it's actually a good thing. And there is also something nice about you growing, and the tattoos, they will follow,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not,
How has travel changed your style, and how do you stay true to it?
Traveling has changed me a lot as a person, and it made me grow a lot, and that in itself made me bring my developed personality into my work, and I think I went more and more abstract over the past years when I started traveling more and more. And I think it's partly inspiration from having met a lot of artists and seeing different styles, but also seeing different cultures, countries, cities. I think when you grow as a person, it's impossible not to develop your artwork as well. So it just went hand in hand, I think.
What would a great collab with fashion or design look like for you?
I think what comes to mind would be, for example, painting on clothes or maybe jewelry. I think there's a lot of cool creative things that could be done there. I think with my approach to artwork, I could see, for example, necklaces or rings being made with like as a reference of abstract painting, for example, or even a jacket with an abstract painting on the back. So I think, yeah, jewelry and fashion is close to heart for me, and I could see a good collab there.
Is tattooing art, service, or both? Of where do you stand?
I think it's both in a way, but not always both. And I think it's complicated. It's a bit of a gray zone, tattooing, because I would say when I started tattooing, it was mostly a service, because of course, at learning, I was doing a lot of things and I just had to do what people asked me. And I learned a lot from that. But now I'm at a point where I'm doing my style and people come to me for my style. So it is art, but at the same time, it is a service because someone is asking for it and they want something particular too. So I think you need to balance that in a healthy way, yeah.
Edwin, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us here in Paris. Your words and your work truly inspire.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.
Sponsored by Richard Belgium.